In 2021, a single forgotten VPN account was enough to cut off 45% of the fuel supply to the east coast of the United States and put the White House on high alert. How could such a basic breach paralyze one of the most critical infrastructures in the United States? In the vast theater of the United States, in the heart of the ending 20th century, a steel artery is born and stretches out. We are in 1962. In a country that consumes oil like others do air or light, a company stands, discreet and colossal. Colonial Pipeline Company. Private company, headquartered in Alpharetta, Georgia. Without weapons, without a flag, but with a power heavier than iron. The power to make the fuel that moves a civilization flow. Its work takes form in the bowels of the earth. A network of nearly 8,850 kilometers, 5,500 miles of main pipelines, winding from Houston, Texas to the shores of New Jersey. Invisible lines buried under fields, marshes, forests, suburbs. They traverse the sun-scorched Texas, the thick waters of Louisiana, the wetlands of Mississippi, the dark forests of Alabama, the dust-red Georgia, the salt wind-swept Carolinas, the history-laden Virginia, the land and sea-tight Maryland, to the urban plains of New Jersey. In these closed conduits, liquid circulates tirelessly, day and night. 2.5 million, sometimes 3 million barrels per day. Gasoline, diesel, jet fuel, heating oil. Rivers of refined products glide through the darkness of the tubes, communicating from one state to another without a sound. 45% of the fuel supply for the entire East Coast relies on this silent giant, as noted by the Department of Energy and CISA. It's a backbone. If it breaks, the entire coast bends. The great gates of modern America feed on this vein. In Atlanta, the Hartsfield-Jackson Airport drinks every day the fuel that Colonial brings. Planes rise into the sky thanks to this invisible flow, like birds thrown by a breath from the underground. In New York, other airports, other runways, draw the same energy. And behind, further, more secret, military bases connect to these buried lines. They supply combat planes, logistical fleets, instruments of American power projection. In documents from the Department of Transportation and the Department of Defense, Colonial is not just a simple operator. It's a vital organ, a strategic node. Yet, this creature of pipes and pumping stations does not have a single face. Its flesh is made of mixed interests. Before 2021, its capital belongs to massive economic forces. Koch Industries, an industrial empire with deep roots. KKR, a private equity giant. IFM investors, fund managers. The Caisse de dépôt et placement du Québec, the financial arm of a foreign province. Other institutions still. No solitary hero. A circle of shareholders, a governance board, contracts, obligations. The diffuse power of money holds the reins of this steel artery that fuels a quarter of the country. Over the decades, the pipeline digs its place into everyday life. But as the metal sinks, another world rises, immaterial. A world of codes, networks, connected systems. America declares certain infrastructures sacred. The Department of Homeland Security designates the energy sector, the pipelines, as critical infrastructure. These are targets to be protected, as their fall can plunge entire regions into darkness or chaos. Engineers install industrial control systems, ICS, SCADA, screens, automata, servers that talk to valves, pumps, sensors. Above, other networks, those of management IT, organize invoices, scheduling, logistics, payroll, contracts. Two worlds, two spheres. OT for operational, IT for administrative. Two distinct worlds in theory, but they touch. For convenience, out of habit, under economic pressure. Between 2018 and 2020, a shower of official alerts hit this landscape. The CISA sends out bulletins. The FBI publishes reports. Pages accumulate, sober, icy, listing vulnerabilities, attack methods, risks. They talk about industrial systems, energy operators' networks. They mention the possible infiltration of ICS, SCADA. They show how an attacker, from a keyboard, can graze the machines, divert their course, cut flows. They warn, ransomware is multiplying, targeting healthcare, communities, industry, energy. The numbers rise between 2019 and 2020. Incidents explode. In the amphitheaters and confidential meetings, experts repeat the same incantation. Separate, segment, keep IT and OT at a distance. The CISA and NIST guidelines talk about protected islands, barriers, firewalls, enhanced authentication. They call for discipline, rigor. The words exist. The recommendations are there. But advice is not a law. And a warning alone does not change the heart of an organization. While the authorities write and caution, another force is gathering in the shadows. These are not states, or not just states. They are groups, scattered gangs, unstable coalitions of digital pirates. They have a new name, a new model. Ransomware as a service. Code turned into a criminal franchise. Reports from FireEye, CrowdStrike, Recorded Future describe the rise of this phenomenon between 2019 and 2021. In this ecosystem, one actor stands out. A name spreads through underground channels. DarkSide. Not a regular army, but a brand of ransomware. Developers forge a powerful encryption tool. They don't always lead the assaults themselves. They rent it to affiliates. They infiltrate, steal, encrypt. In return, they share the ransoms. It's a market, an unspoken contract between digital crooks, sealed not by blood, but by the promise of profit. DarkSide gives itself a face and a voice. On a site hidden deep in the dark web, a leak site opens. There, the names of rebel victims, stolen data, proofs of the catch are published. Cybersecurity firms list this site, observe its macabre dance. DarkSide operators speak. They call themselves apolitical. They claim to primarily target profit-driven companies, not hospitals, not schools, not sensitive organizations. They try to dress themselves in a code of honor, a moral mask on a looting face. Yet, behind the proclamations, the facts keep coming. In 2020 and early 2021, attacks strike everywhere. Paralyzed hospitals, local administrations silenced, industrial companies brought to their knees. FBI, CISA, media, all document this waltz of extortion. Reports pile up. Press conferences follow one another. The authorities see the storm approaching, but its lightning still strikes scattered targets. None has, until then, stopped a major energy artery of the country. Meanwhile, Colonial Pipeline continues its path. In its world, the safety of the pipes is regulated. The Pipeline and Hazardous Materials Safety Administration, the PHMSA, oversees the physical, industrial aspects: pipeline pressure, metal integrity, risks of explosion, leak, environmental catastrophe. The texts are precise, binding, old. The pipeline, on the surface, is well regulated. On cybersecurity, the picture is more blurred. The Transportation Security Administration, the TSA, issues directives, recommendations for pipelines, including on digital aspects. But Government Accountability Office reports, already there before 2021, highlight the limits of the framework. No detailed technical obligations, no imperative standards, no tight control. The words are there, but weak. Incentives rather than orders. Within Colonial's walls, IT and OT systems coexist. Outside, few details filter out. The exact network architecture remains opaque. We only know what the NIST and CISA guides recommend for the sector. Segment, limit bridges, harden access. But between theory and practice, there is always a chasm that time, money, and willingness fill. And sometimes, this chasm remains open. A VPN account, a simple remote access, stands in this void. An account designed to allow employees to reach the company's network from outside. Colonial Pipeline CEO Joseph Blount, later, before the Senate, reveals its nature. This account is no longer actively used. It should have been deactivated. It is not. It floats in the system, useless, forgotten. And it does not have the protection key that everyone has already been demanding for years: multi-factor authentication. A password is enough to pierce this door. Credentials, somewhere, circulate. FireEye and others, in their analyses, confirm that the initial access is through there, a VPN account, without MFA. But how did these credentials fall into the hands of the attackers? Old data leak? Phishing? Another method? On this point, silence remains. Neither the company nor the authorities provide a definitive answer. The mystery remains whole. Only the result counts. A path to the inside exists, and someone finds it. Around Colonial, the actors who will soon enter the scene are still living in the routine of everyday life. The FBI, guardian of federal law, is already investigating other ransomware cases. The CISA, protector of critical infrastructures, publishes guides and responds to incidents. At the White House, the National Security Council monitors the horizon, emerging threats, the rise of cybercrime, the aggressiveness of certain states. The Department of Energy remains the agency tasked by the federal plan with coordinating responses to major energy crises. The Department of Transportation and the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration regulate trucks, roads, and logistic flows. Companies like Mandiant sharpen their detection and incident response tools. They scrutinize weak signals, dissect malware, and track criminal groups. DarkSide is already in their sights. They have analyzed its code, operating mode, and double extortion strategy. They know what is brewing in the shadows, without knowing the date or the target. On the East Coast, cities live, indifferent to the metal serpent beneath their feet. They drive, consume, sync their rhythm to the presumed abundance of fuel. In the DOE and EIA reports, a dependency is displayed in black and white. Entire states rely on Colonial. Without it, tanks empty, gas stations dry up, airports look for other sources. The military recalculates their stocks. Yet warnings multiply. Joint FBI, CISA, NSA bulletins sounded before May 2021. They specifically targeted the threat of ransomware against critical infrastructures. They described methods, recommended preparation, almost demanded vigilance. But in the tumult of priorities, many hear without really listening. The criminal ecosystem, on the other hand, organizes itself. Affiliates of groups like DarkSide hunt lucrative, poorly protected prey. They evaluate. They wait. In Alpharetta, Colonial is a strategic operator with an incomplete regulatory shield. The rules mainly cover metal and fluids, less the keyboards and network ports. Cyber specialists repeat the litany: MFA, segmentation, access management, disabling obsolete accounts. In the corridors, some are concerned. Others think about financial deadlines, volumes, projects. The forgotten VPN account remains, like an old lock no one cares about. In the depth of the network, IT and OT are separated, but not by absolute walls. Gateways exist. The risk is theorized, documented. It has not yet struck them with the force of destiny. In the criminal spheres, a dark side affiliate prepares his next move. He knows his masters will provide the code, the payment infrastructure, the leak site. It's up to him to find the breach, the ideal victim. Public reports show him that ransomware has already hit hospitals, administrations, factories. He knows a pipeline, if it falls, would make noise. But he also sees the possible money, the leverage effect of such a shock. Thus, on the eve of the attack, everything is in place. Colonial, the backbone of the East Coast, moves forward, sure of its role, less sure of its defenses. The authorities have warned, without imposing. The criminals have organized, without being stopped. A single VPN access, not deactivated, without MFA, remains like a loose thread sticking out of an armor. The metal sleeps underground. The pumping stations hum. The screens in the control rooms display stable curves, stable figures. Fuel flows in the pipes like a docile river. No one, that night, yet hears the keys tapping in the shadows, somewhere on the surface of the earth, perhaps thousands of kilometers away. No one knows that a compromised password opens a door. In this apparent silence, destiny breathes. One click will suffice to turn a neglected vulnerability into a national crisis. The steel artery, which has never stopped beating for decades, is about to experience, for the first time, the sudden stop that no one, until now, has really considered.